Hi, I'm Magdalena Zepeda Salig, and I'm the CEO and founder of the GotInfo app. And this is my first episode of my founder diary. And so, in my last video, if you were able to watch it, I did explain that I'm going to be documenting the process of starting a tech company from scratch. And so, I'm building a startup called GotInfo while holding down some of the most important jobs I've ever had. And these include being a wife, mom, I'm a teacher, a re entry student, I'm studying business, and now somehow I am a founder. And so I figured, why not document this in real time? And so this isn't some polished tech journey. I'm not a coder. I don't have venture capital. I wasn't raised in Silicon Valley, the area where technology companies sprout all the time. I'm a woman who had a problem, and it was a real family problem, and I decided to solve it. And that's what this will be documenting. So this all begins with a funeral. I went out of town for a funeral. I had two toddler boys, and we went out to this area. And even though I'm familiar with the Coachella Valley, that's where the funeral was being held, I needed toddler clothes, black toddler clothes for the children. And the reason I needed it on the spot was because I did not take a moment, being a busy mom, working full time, I didn't take a moment to read the funeral notice invitation. And so it said, for the respect of the family, you must wear black. And so there I am. I look back at the kids and they're wearing Spider-Man and Paw Patrol yellow. And I said, oh no, I can't show up like this. So I went to the first store that I thought would have black toddler clothing. Walmart, didn't have it. Go to the next store, Kohl's, didn't have it. Okay, how about Target? Didn't have it. So after going to like 5 locations, I couldn't find black toddler clothing, and the kids were hungry. It was hot. They're getting in and out of the car seat. They're getting irritated. They haven't had their nap, and then they at funeral's about to start. So it was an irritation amongst all things, right? And I said to myself, why in this day and age, when we are able to post that there are potholes and policemen on the corner, or that there is road construction, we're able to post that on a platform while we're driving, but we can't post what's in a store to a community of users. And so day in, out, I would think about this, and I would say, I wonder, like, if there's something that exists, and am I the only person who has had this problem? And so for months, the idea kept popping into my head, and I kept bothering my husband, and I kept telling him, if only we had this platform that would help us find this on an instant. Formula shortage, where do we get that? And if it did exist, where was it, right? And so I wrote down some notes here because I want to make sure that I include all the juicy story. And so finally one day my husband says to me, I remember he said, well, if you want this, why don't you make it? And I said to him, me? I don't know anything about technology. I don't know tech. Like, I don't know what to do. And he responded with that look of more than 1,000 words. You can figure it out. You can do anything you set your mind to. I've never heard you say you can't do anything. And so that's when it began. And so that evening, it was like 2 years ago, February or so. And it's the evening routine. It's done. And we put the boys to bed, dinner, everything's clean, and the house is quiet. So I go to the kitchen table, take out an old notebook, grab a mechanical pencil. I know I had to use a pencil, and I Googled how to make an app. I watched YouTube videos. I read articles. I was there, and I looked online for platform designs, how to design. And I think about 7 hours later, at about 3 a.m., I said, I got it. So I went to bed, maybe got 2 hours of sleep that night, but I was very excited. And as soon as my husband woke up, I said, I need a developer. And he said, now? And I said, no, not now, but I need a developer. That's the next step. And he said, how much? I said, $25,000. And he said, okay, how do we get that? And then I didn't know, but I remember thinking, but I'll figure it out. And so that's when the story began, and I started asking questions, looking around, researching, and but what finally made this be a go, like what finally the decision came to make this go forward. There's no going back. We have to do this. Was on the 4th of July, about a year ago, and we had a situation where we had to go to Oregon on the 4th of July, and we flew into the airport. A family member was very ill, and it was my mother-in-law, and we were told that she might not make it, and it was a very detrimental situation. We're running through the airport to get to the hospital, and then our little one, who kind of dabbles in asthma, all of a sudden went into a wheezing attack. And we didn't have his inhaler. Remember, he dabbles in asthma. It wasn't like he would carry that around. We don't carry an inhaler. So we get a prescription immediately, tell a doctor, and they say, okay, go find the nearest pharmacy. It's the 4th of July. The first pharmacy we went to was closed. We go to the second one. They're pulling down their little curtain, their little metal cage, and they said, no, sorry, our cash registers, everything's done. And we're like, okay, where do we go? So we're driving around. We end up in Washington. And at that point, I'm thinking, why, in this day and age, when you can post potholes and policemen and road closures while you're driving and you can't find what's there in brick and mortar establishments on the spot in an area? I had to do this. It was horrible seeing the child suffer. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I mean, we had to find something. Luckily, we did find a solution, and that will be in another video. But that's what drove me to say this is a go. So ultimately, these videos are going to be my way of documenting the truth behind these scenes, to be transparent and honest up front. These will be unedited. It'll be one shot. I will be showing you what I did to create a tech platform from scratch. And some weeks I'm going to be energized. Some weeks I'm going to be exhausted. Some weeks I'm sure the children will walk in here and interrupt these videos, and we'll have to handle that for that moment. And that's going to be part of the story. And because that's what they've done in the past. I've been on virtual meetings and talking to people in different time zones, and here they go, Mama, I'm hungry. And so it happens. So I'm doing this because I know that stories like this are not told. I know that I did not find anyone talking about how they created an app when they began. If anything, I was finding stories on the finished product. And I decided to document this so that I don't miss the chance to bring others along who might be in a position where they have this tech idea and maybe they want to create it. And for those of you who have built tech, you know that this is a very delicate process. And it's a creative process, but it is tedious, iterative, incremental, high risk, detailed, and exhausting. And it's probably easier not to do it. But if I can bring someone along who wants to do it, I'd love that. Like, why not inspire? So I trust that God gave me this assignment. This is way bigger than me. I could have never done this on my own. This was placed here, and I'm choosing to move forward with it. And I feel that God will walk me through it because like I said, I don't know tech. I'm an educator by trade. And one of the things that I do resonate with is that quote by Jim Rohn. He said, we must all suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And I thought, yes, I agree. But to take it one step further, I thought, what will I teach my children if I do this? And what will I teach them if I don't, if I walk away? And so that is the fire that has pushed me forward. And I must say, I almost didn't do this video diary. This is, like I said, a very convoluted process. It's not straight, like you start and you go to the end, not at all. And this is still a work in process. We are working on the app as I speak. I have a meeting tonight at 10:30 p.m. and that's just the way life is. But I realized that's not a reason to remain silent on this process. The journey is bigger than anything I've ever done, and somewhere someone might need this reminder that the unfinished story, that the journey, that the crazy middle is just as important as the end. And when finally the GotInfo app does land in your hands, you won't just see an app, you'll see every late night, every leap of faith, every inch, every climb that it took for me and the team that is behind me to get this to where it is in your hands. So stick around if you're curious about how the startup gets built. And this is episode number 1. 0 was before, and I'll be posting every week. So I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you.